Hi, this is the second um, card in our series on the Major Arcana. We talked about the Fool, which is there, the Fool being number 0, and the card that opens the sequence and the Fool's journey. So it's his journey or her journey into the Major Arcana. And the next card, which is now numbered, the Fool was 0, doesn't have a number. And this card is actually the first one in the sequence, is the card of the Magician. So this card has a number. Once again, we see the yellow goldy background. There's a man, young man, standing against this background, surrounded by flowers. He's holding up a wand in his right hand to the sky, and he's pointing to the earth with his left hand. He has a white tunic with a snake as a belt. This is called an Ouroboros, and on his head he has a lemniscate, a figure of 8, horizontal. So he's also wearing a red cloak. So we'll come back to that Ouroboros and that lemniscate in a moment. He's holding a wand, to the sky. He's standing behind a table with 4 tools, a wand, a cup, a sword, and what looks like a coin, which in tarot is called a pentacle, because it's got a star in it. So it's a coin with a star in it. It's got red flowers, red roses above him, framed by red roses, and red roses and white lilies at his feet. He's looking quite confident. He's got this white halo around him. Looks like he's glowing and shining. So what does it all mean? So we talked about the Fool being the sort of baby or the young soul going through its journey, starting the quest. And the Magician is the very first stage. So first of all, the Ouroboros and Lemniscate, they're both symbols. You probably recognise them. Some of you at least will recognise them as symbols of infinity, of continuity, of the cycle of life, effectively going on and on, because the Lemniscate, the figure of 8, means infinity, and the Ouroboros is the snake that bites his own tail, and again is infinity, continuity, so eternity. Everything is a cycle, and every cycle starts again, and that's what rules the Magician. And equally, this is reflected in his gesture, which is pointing up to the sky with a wand and down to the earth with his finger. And this has the gesture that has come to signify the maxim, the famous maxim, as above, so below. So the divine above is reflected by what happens here on earth, and vice versa. There is divine on earth because it reflects what's happening on a different plane. And the Magician is kind of the transmitter. It's almost like, I could see an electric charge going through him, almost like a cable connecting the heavens to the earth, connecting the energy, going backwards and forwards. It's a conduit of energy, it's a conduit of magic. That's what magic is. It's channeling divine energy and circulating it. If you've ever done energy raising, one of the basic exercises is to imagine sucking up energy from the earth and from the sky and letting it go through you and blend. And that's exactly what I see that Magician doing. He's grounding himself on the one hand, he's grounding himself in between the sky and the earth, and it's a live wire to me of electricity, of energy going through him. He's got the wand in kind of a magical wand in his hand to facilitate that, and this is kind of reinforced by what he has in front of him. You recognize these as the elements of the suits of the tarot. So the tarot has 4 suits: the wands, the cups, the pentacles and the swords, and that's what's in front of the magician. He has wands, which is fire, suit of wands, cups, which is water, and the suit of cups, earth, which is the pentacles. So I'll talk more about the pentacle, but it's a coin with a star in it. Again, it's not just a coin, it's a coin with a star. It's material with spirit in it. And that's what he's got on the table. And he's got a sword, which is the suit of swords, or the intellect. So the magician is pretty much a manifester. The other thing I will say about him is that, which is quite, noticeable, is the white and the red colours. And again, there are alchemical colours that represent male and female, inside, internal, external, emotions, actions, spiritual, material. It's pretty much, kind of an opposition of two opposites that give you something else. And this is a theme throughout the tarot. There are different elements, lots of different elements, and lots of opposing elements that together make a whole. There's a lot of polarity in the tarot, but then it comes together as a whole, and it's very, very important. The entire journey of the major arcana, the entire lesson of the tarot, is how we integrate all these aspects, all these bits, all these parts into a whole, and how we break it all up again. It's crucial. It's like a puzzle. The whole is the sum total of its parts. A puzzle, a piece of a puzzle by itself makes no sense, but equally you can't have the whole puzzle without having a piece. If a piece is missing, the puzzle won't make sense. The tarot is very much like that. It's always like urging us to take things apart, look at them, and then put them back together again in different ways. And this is very evident in this card. There's a lot of elements, elemental strength, elemental power that you can, put together. So the magician, going back to the magician and his manifesting meaning, because that's what the magician is. The magician can manifest. Now, the fool is about to step off the cliff, hasn't got a care in the world, is looking up at the sky. The magician is kind of now saying, right, now we got to do something. You've got to kind of choose how you're going to use all this enthusiasm and optimism and energy. What are you going to do? What are you going to use? So although he's got these 4 elements, 4 tools on the table, what will he choose? The magician is asking you to choose your weapon. I always hear this phrase when I look at the magician. I hear a voice in my head saying, choose your weapon. What will it be? You can look at it 2 ways. One way is that the fool is the little soul, there's kind of the little baby soul, and it is, he or she will meet different people on its journey. And the first person that he meets is the magician, which is the male. That's another interpretation. It's the male, active, spiritual power. Is the male principle. It's power, it's inspiration, it's actualization. That's one interpretation. The other interpretation is that the fool is the infant, and then it becomes later on in life a young teen, and the young teen starts experimenting his own power. And deciding how he's going to choose his power. So I just thought, it's almost like a young person there with things on the table. And, what will he choose? Will he pick up the car keys to take his parents' car for a spin? Will he, and that could be the pentacle. Will he pick up the cup? Will he pick up the bottle of booze so he can have his first drunken experience? Will he pick up the sword? And cut all the weeds in his parents' garden, just to be a nice, do a nice thing for them? Will he pick up the wand to have a play fight with his friends? What will he choose? How will he actualize his power that he has. He's on this quest, he stepped into his power. How will you choose your power? That is crucial for the magician. The magician is a manifester. It's the key to remember. Manifest, manifest. The other side of the magician, because all of these cards, as I said before, have a negative as well as a positive side. The magician can be a trickster. You have to choose your weapon carefully, because you might choose the wrong thing to pick up at the wrong time. You may choose, the wand or the sword to pick up to have a fight. You might decide to use the sword, to fight someone, where really you should use the sword to cut the weeds in the garden. You may choose the cup to get drunk, whereas maybe you should be using the cup to fill it up with water to help somebody who's thirsty. So all these things, you could do the wrong thing with the tool that you pick up, or you could pick up the wrong tool. You choose the coin to go and buy some nice stuff for yourself, when really you should be using the sword to cut the weeds. So it's about making the right choices, how you actualize your dreams or your projects. And also it's about it could be, a magician could be a trickster, because the magician has all these tools at his disposal, and he could use them to trick you. So again, that will be determined by the question you ask, what other cards are around the magician. So the magician is a great card of actualization. I love it. I think it's a beautiful card. And it's probably my favorite card in the major arcana. And that's the first stage in the journey. So we got, if we look at it, if we visualize it like this, we got the fall at the top there, and the journey has started. Magician. And then we'll talk about a little bit more. So you got stepping out, the male active principle, the first sort of chance of actualizing and stepping into our power. And then we'll move on to the next stage, which will be the high priestess.